Hey guys, meganchanges here, and today I thought I would talk to you about more of a mental aspect to getting weight loss surgery. I want to start out by saying that the best thing I ever did for myself was to start therapy before I had this surgery, because I think a lot of people who, you know, get to certain weights don't necessarily have the best relationship with food. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. And I know that that does not speak to everyone for sure. I myself had a lot of health issues that caused some weight gain. But I definitely do have my issues with food, because throughout the years, the more that I failed in losing weight because of my polycystic ovarian syndrome, the more discouraged I got and the more I turned to food for comfort. And so I recently talked to my therapist about this and about the fear that even after I lose all of this weight, which I know that I'm going to do through weight loss surgery because that is what it's designed to do, I'm afraid that I'm eventually going to gain all of the weight back. And the biggest reason for that fear is that because food is my biggest comfort and it is my biggest coping strategy in times of stress. So I just wanted to share with you guys an exercise that we did together, because I felt like it was really, really helpful for me to understand why food is not the best coping mechanism. And this might not apply to everyone. Some of you definitely have healthy relationships with food, but I myself find myself binging and overeating on quite a few occasions. So the biggest thing that my therapist said to me is that comfort and that high that my brain gets from eating food is not a natural high. I have a food addiction, right? So a lot of times when people picture addiction, they picture alcoholics or drug addicts or even sex addicts, and not necessarily food addicts, but it's the same reaction in your brain, right? So drug addicts, for instance, they have to do harder and harder drugs or more and more amounts of drugs in order to get that same high in their brain, right? It's the same thing with food. And again, that's not a natural high. That's not just a classic dose of serotonin that is making you a relatively happy person. That is a high that your brain is getting from eating food. And so she imparted to me that that's not normal, because I asked her, what are some other coping strategies that can make me as happy as food makes me? And she just said to me, there's not going to be anything, because that high is not normal. It's not natural. Your brain is overproducing serotonin in those instances. So I also had an issue with the word addiction, because like I said, a lot of people associate that with alcoholics and drug addicts and really unpleasant things in life. People associate addiction with not being able to keep their lives together and not taking care of themselves and not spending enough time with loved ones and all of those kinds of things. And so the word addiction was a hard one to grapple with. But my therapist also explained to me that there are different stages of addiction, and I'm not necessarily on the high stage, but it's developing. So what she wanted me to do was to be able to associate the negatives with my addiction. So instead of viewing food as a comfort and viewing food as something that I can turn to in times of stress and kind of fantasizing food almost and thinking about like how good it makes me feel and all these kinds of things, she wanted me to go through and write down how food negatively affects me so that I could turn to this little notebook that I'm keeping in times when I do feel like I want to binge and when I do want to turn to food for comfort. So she just gave me a few categories to go through and write down specific examples of how the food is negatively affecting me in those categories. So this is my notebook. And I started with financially because for me that was the most concrete. And I'll go through that with you in a second, but we did financially, emotionally, mentally, socially, work life, physically, and then also for me we did relationships, And I think that's it. Yeah. So those are the categories, and I will put that in the comments below, or not the comments, sorry, the description below. But again, I started out with financially, and I think I'm just going to go over this one with you guys because it's the most straightforward. But if you have any questions, you can let me know, and I can, definitely go through some of the other ones. So what she wanted me to do for the financial aspect was to go through one of my past debit statements and figure out how much I spent on food a month. And I didn't do the months of June and July because those were not normal months for me. So I went all the way back to May, and I calculated, first of all, how many times I went out to eat, and then how many times I went grocery shopping, and I added that all together to get the amount of money that I spent per month on food. So what shocked me the most is that I ended up going out to eat 27 times, and I did count Starbucks in there, and I'm kind of a Starbucks addict. So those are a few of the times, but 27 times is almost once a day, and that is crazy to me. Like, I didn't realize that I was going out to eat that often. And then I went grocery shopping a few times. I also had some food charges on my credit card because I'm a teacher and I live in a city and I'm kind of broke. So I had to go back through and do my credit card as well. So combined with eating out and going grocery shopping, I spent a total of $898.81 on food in a month. So per year, that's $10,785.72 on food. And for me, that is almost a fourth of my salary, not quite, but when you take out taxes and, when you look at net income versus gross income, I definitely spent a lot more on food than I should be spending. I actually went on the Treasury Department, the U.S. Treasury Department, and they have a budgeting section, surprisingly, and it said that most Americans spend about 9% of their income on food, and the range is like 9 to 15% is what's average to spend on food. So for me, that would mean spending about $350 a month instead of the almost $900 a month that I have been spending. So right off the bat, when I did this exercise, I was like, holy crap, I could definitely see how that food addiction was impacting me negatively financially, right? Because I definitely did not need to go out to eat 27 times in 1 month, but because I would have a stressful day and I would want to go to the drive-thru or Chick-fil-A or whatever it was, that was making me spend way more money than I needed to spend on food. Okay. So yeah, if you feel like you're suffering from food addiction, and again, I know that seems like such a harsh word or phrase, but if you feel like you have some issues with food and you use food as a coping strategy and you're trying to get better at that, I definitely suggest going through this exercise and trying to think about how it affects you negatively. I know that that's not going to be the thing that just snap makes you not have any issues with food anymore and you're cured and all these kinds of things, but it is one step to see how this habit is negatively impacting you and your health. So yeah, thank you for watching. Again, I'll put those other categories in the descriptions, and I might include a few of my examples so that you guys can get a better idea of what this exercise looked like in total. But yeah, just let me know if you have any questions, and I'll probably make more videos like this because, again, therapy has been so helpful to me in this journey. So, all right, have a great day.